Hi guys, welcome to another episode of the world famous podcast Beating the Press with myself Ty, and we've got the brilliant Kristian with us as well today. Thanks for joining us firstly, and for our new viewers and listeners, if you've accidentally clicked play and you're wondering what we talk about, it's always football. So if that is your kind of thing, get down there, click that like, subscribe button, share it with your friends and family. You never know, they might enjoy it as well. So we are now moving on towards the end of the season, and we're going to discuss quite a big managerial appointment that's just been made today. It's done by a club who's done everything upside down for the last 10 years. So who knows if this is the right decision? And no surprise, it's going to be Man United and Erik Ten Hag. I think rumours were suffice around, what we're talking, probably about 2 or 3 months ago, that he was probably going to get it. So as Man United, they run such a tight ship. They keep everything closed. No one knows about anything, but everyone seemed to know about it 2 months ago. So so that's our podcast today, and I'll pass over to Kristian and get him to kick us off.
Yeah, it's like the worst kept secret. Like United are the worst at keeping secrets, whether it be transfers. Obviously they're linked with everyone, whether it be the players or managers. But this one's been obviously the worst kept secret for a long time, and it's a permanent appointment that they've needed for some time. You think back to Solskjaer, like what's that? Maybe 2 years ago, he was appointed a caretaker manager. So in reality, they haven't had a full-time actual manager that's actually came in as a manager for a good amount of time. So I do think it is about time. Ten Hag, I'm not going to pretend like I know a great deal about Ajax. Obviously, I know what I know from the Champions League. They're a brilliant footballing club. They've got good ethos. You think of the likes of Barcelona, the way that they play in the academy. They have a style of play. They've got a good history, a good pedigree, and they've got a good history of bringing players through. And I do think. I do think it's a good appointment, but any appointment at the moment is kind of good. But I did think that about the last couple of appointments. You think of Van Gaal, you think of Jose Mourinho, great managers in their time. But in reality, it's not their managers. It's never the managers. It's
an interesting one. It's an interesting one because I've spoke about this before. The Mourinho, Van Gaal, people saying we've got the best managers. They won't. They were finished.
They're of a level.
But this is the first time I'd say they've gone out and they've got a manager that's, I want to say up and coming because he's 52 years old, but a manager that's, I mean, I am surprised they've gone with him because I thought the obvious one was Pochettino, just because he's got that experience in the Premier League. Now, I don't know how that conversation went with Pochettino and if it was too difficult to get him away from PSG. I don't know. I just felt, obviously with the newspaper reports that were coming out, it was between them two. And Gary Neville put a poll up on Twitter about which one do you want, Pochettino and Ten Hag, and Ten Hag absolutely pissed it. Now, it wouldn't surprise me if Man United hierarchy went, oof, I think the fans want Ten Hag, let's go with him. Do you know what I mean? Because they're just such a badly run club. And I don't think Ten Hag coming in on his own is going to fix it. And I think everyone's aware of that. I think that, I think Ten Hag knows full well that themselves. Obviously, even the backroom staff's irrelevant, I think. For me, I think what's important is they've got to get their recruitment right. You've got so many, and I've said this for years, they've got so many average players. Those average players are now showing the true colours and performances that they've put on. It's always, you'll get this with players anyway. When a manager leaves, it's always someone else's fault. Players will never, ever take the blame. I've actually been listening to Neil Warnock's autobiography on Audible whilst I was away. And that's one thing he said. He said, players will never, ever blame themselves. They'll always blame the kit man, they'll blame the pitch, they'll blame the manager, they'll blame anyone. Man United fans are just showing that to an absolute T. Problem I think they've got at the moment is they've obviously got a few players that are out of contract and going to be leaving at the end of the season. You've then probably got 4 or 5 other players that are just not good enough and they've got to go. Rangnick said they probably need 6, 8, 10 new players, and that's what they're going to expect to come in. You can't expect them to come in and just go all guns blazing. Now, Man United, if they don't get in the Champions League, and I know it's Man United, but if, for example, a player becomes available and you've got the top European clubs, Man United, Man City, Man United are not going to be up there. The only way they're going to do it, they're going to have to start offering very sort of average to good players. massively overhyped for wages. And then you get the whole Alexis Sanchez situation again, where you're paying him $500,000 and he's not very good. I think there's it's a soap opera, but it's great for us because we can just stand by and watch it, watch it unfold and just see how it goes.
It's it's funny you got a 3-year contract. Now, obviously, I don't feel that that's long enough. He's got 3 years, and I think then another year, which he can extend beyond then. So, it's got to be a long-term project. And, I heard Rangnick say we're about 6 years away. You are 6 years away if Liverpool and Man City stand still. You think that they're going to stand still in that time. You think that Chelsea, with their new owners, you not think that they're going to want to put some money in, start investing in the squad again. They've obviously got a little bit of a turnaround in players that are out of contract, so they're going to have to fill those spots. So you're competing with them. You're competing still with Spurs on the up with Conte, Arsenal. They've probably got a little bit of money here and there, and then obviously you've got Newcastle coming up on the rails. Yeah. So automatically you're competing straight away with 5 teams as a minimum, and then it's like you say, they've got a lot of outgoing. So let's say they're going to replace 7 odd players. It's very rare that you find Andrew Robertsons of the world. It's very rare that you get 10 million, 8 million, or whatever it is that we paid for him. Klopp pretty much hasn't done it since then. You're thinking maybe Carvalho and all that, but not one that's ready to come into the team. So, and the reality is you're looking at diamonds that are around about 30, 40 million. Now, if you're looking at 9, 10 of those, you're almost looking at $500 million. So straight away, that's just not going.
They've already spent over $1 billion.
Yeah, so that's not going to happen. You can't, unless Ten Hag gets every Diogo Jota right. How is he going to do that over 6 years?
So I think, Ralph Rangnick, I think he's had some criticism, but I think if you've listened to his interviews, I think he talks so much sense, I listen to him, yeah. I think he says stuff what Man United fans probably don't want to hear, but he's so, the interviewer asks him the question and he gives you a straight answer. And I don't know if it's a German thing, because every German coach and manager, they give the brilliant at interviews. They just give you the answers, and it's not the sort of typical answers that you'll get, over regurgitated and same answers over and over again. And he was absolutely right. He said, you've got to, it's not just getting a manager. It's like the club needs to understand how you want to play. You look at Man City and Liverpool, they're obviously 2 great examples. Yeah, I'd say Liverpool more than Man City, just simply because Man City have had billions pumped into them, It's been slightly different. With Liverpool, it's coming, it's like, how do you want to play? And then the manager comes. Then you have your recruitment set. You've got your profile of players, and they're the ones you go for. Whereas Man United have just gone, right, okay, we've got this player's become available, let's go get him. Ronaldo, we don't want Man City, we'll get him. All right, there's another player that's just Cavani, we'll get him in. Or we don't have another striker, we'll give him another year contract extension. Jesse Lingard's out of contract, but we'll keep him and we'll sort of try and sweet talk him, so we'll give him another year's contract so we can sell him. The whole thing's a mess. So I think the whole player profile, and there'll be a lot of players that need to get shifted out. It'll be interesting. Ten Hag, I think we know the type of football Ajax play. So is he going to want to go in and implement that same style? I'd imagine so. And then it's like, well, you're going to have to get new fullbacks, because Wan-Bissaka isn't going to play, playing out from the back. He's got one good thing in him, which is the last ditch tackle, because he's out of position, but that's about it. Harry Maguire, I know there's been news that he's had death threats, which is horrendous. I don't care how care you are, and we're Liverpool fans. There's no, I don't understand football fans do that. We've had some horrendous players play for Liverpool, Konchesky's and your Paulsons and stuff. But we'd never ever dream of doing anything like that. I don't know how, but that's another podcast.
No, as soon as they step onto the pitch, you support them.
Yeah, exactly. No, exactly. And I just think it's that's just stupid fans. I'm not even going to, we're not going to give them any time on the podcast. We're just moving on from that. So I think there needs to be a clear idea of what they want the club to do. How do you want to play? We mentioned when Solskjaer was listed, they don't have any style. There's no. Can you tell me what Man United style is? What sort of patterns of play they've got? How we just don't. Every game's different, isn't it? With Conte, he's been there for 4 or 5 months. You know exactly how they're going to play 3-4-3, and they're going to play front foot attacking football. Okay, when they play against a bigger team, it's more defensive, sort of counter attacking on the break. But you know exactly how they play. So it's really flexible in terms of sort of going from a 5-4-1 to springing to a 3-4-3. You know what I mean? And everyone seems to get there and he's improved. Ben Davies has improved since he's coming. Eric Dyer's improved since he's coming. You've got Matt Doherty was doing well before he got injured. So these average players coming in and he's improved them. Now, Klopp does that. you know, you were talking about Robertson's coming in, he's becoming the best left back in the world. Sadio Mane's coming, become one of the best players in the world. Salah, these players weren't that level when they came in. Yep. So you've got to go in now. It's like getting those players now. Are you going to go spend 100 million on players that may or may not work? Or have you got your recruitment right? I think the issue getting Ten Hag, and I think he's got to obviously say, right, we need, whether they get a director of football, I think you pretty much need one now if you're, you know, an elite football club. And then your recruitment's got to be right. You've got to get your recruitment right. And that recruitment should now, as soon as Ten Hag signed it and said he's moving, they should be looking at that. Ten Hag should be saying, this is my recruitment. This is what I want. These are the 20 players. I want at least 10 of them. Do what you can, get them in. And then after that, have another list. But there's a profile of player that fits into the way that we're going to play. And imagine it'll be 4-3-3, the way he plays at Ajax and the way he'll go. Will he bring any of those Ajax players over? Who knows? I think Donny van der Beek's got a great shout of now coming back in and playing for Man United regularly, because I think he'll fit into the way he wants to play. There's players that just won't. I think there's obviously rumours that he doesn't like Ronaldo and he wants him to move on. So I think there's Cavani's obviously going to move on as well. Rashford, I don't know what's happened to him. There's players there I just think are going to be, there's quite a few that'll be out on the bike. But how it's going to be, you know, I don't know.
Yeah, well, you talk about the outgoings there. I was just thinking, like, assets-wise, you know, again, we compare Liverpool and Man City. You go through Liverpool's 11. You're not signing any one of their first 11 for less than 60, 70 million. Not one of them. Not even Robertson, probably of the younger ones, who would probably maybe be the cheapest, and he's like 70, 80. You know, you're not going to get anywhere near that. Now, we'll go through the Man United team that the other night. You know, you maybe get something on Sancho because you literally just bought him, but his value was pretty much plummeting. David De Gea's pulling out his pudding, so you know you'll get a bit for him, but he's a little bit older. Bruno Fernandes, he's about where he was when he signed. Beyond that,
I think it's plummeted.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, this season
he had that one. Was it one season, or it was about 8 or 9 months when he was just on fire? Now now this is where he's sort of more. You know, you have those. So that's why you always say about great players, you have longevity. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. You look at the Liverpool front three, longevity of years. You know what I mean? Yeah. Ronaldo, Messi. You know, I'm talking about Lewandowski. All these players have got longevity of years. Fernandes had a really strong 8 or 9 months. And then after that, he's just sort of like, his arms are going, his attitude's horrendous. Do you know what I mean? So I think that's the big thing. Go on.
Yeah, and that's the point. You know, what assets have you got to sell in order to recoup and then go again? So now you're looking at the United owners again, right? Dip your hands in your pockets again. Now, obviously, there's a lot going on in the background that I'm not clever enough or not interested enough to know what's going on with the Glazers. But I do understand sometimes where the likes of the likes of Souness come out and they say, your managers have been backed, you know, regardless of whether the stadium's falling apart, regardless of whether they're dipping their hands into the pocket. If Man United were winning on the pitch, they wouldn't care less about whether they were taking monthly payments. It would not matter. It doesn't matter as long as you're doing well on the pitch. But the reality is they're doing so bad that they need someone to blame. But no one was complaining when Wan-Bissaka got brought in. Oh, he's in England full back. You know, Fernandes came in. No one was mourning. He's still a good player. You know, Sancho, he was available. Oh, we want Sancho. You got Sancho. There you go. Ronaldo. He's of an age. You know, they wanted him, they got him, and it's right what you're saying. It's like a popularity contest with United. It reminds me of when I used to play Football Manager when I was younger, and you'd see like a player going, you'd see just a name player. Yeah, I'll have him. He's going like on a free. I'll have him, and I'll give him whatever wages he wants because he sounds good and it makes my team. Forget about the balance or anything like that. So he has got a big job to do, and I think it's a good time for him to come in because he can't do worse than what's there at the moment. He really can't.
No, you're absolutely right. I'm kind of disappointed you said what you said because I was hoping you'd go the other way because that's what generally the people are saying, that the Glazers are the ones to blame when they don't. And Gary Neville's obviously been really passionate about it. I like Gary Neville. I just don't agree with that. Now, you can't say the player, the managers, the club hasn't been back. I've never heard of a player not going to Man United because of money, or Man United not having enough money to buy a player. They've spent over $1 billion since Fergie's left. Okay, now I'll give you an example. Liverpool last year, when they bought Tsimikas, Jamal Lewis, Norwich wanted 15 million. Liverpool only said we're going to give you 10, no more. Now, Man United would have gone ER15. Liverpool said, no, we're going to stick to 10. They said, no, right, okay, see you later. And they went and got Simicast for 10 million. See, that's how we have got a set budget and we work towards it. And then Liverpool fans would go on the FSG's back saying, oh, they're not putting their hands in their pocket and they're not thinking about this and that. Man United have been back to the hill. Every manager has been back to the hill. You're buying players. Now, it's not the owner's fault because Glazers aren't experts in football. They think who they've got the CEO, they're thinking, right, okay, you're going to be in charge, you sort all the footballing side of that. But I get the other side as well, they're making profit, so then they're not too worried about what's going on the pitch. As long as they don't get relegated, I think that's the only time they really panic. So they're there where they are. So I'm not having it. I'm glad you said that because I was hoping you'd say something else I couldn't argue with you. But I'm glad you said what you said because I just think it's this myth that's being thrown about by these the Norwich fans, the yellow and green ones that Man United fans just seem to get every time Glazers out. Like, what you want about? You've got owners that pile money into your club. It's not their fault that the managers are shit and the players that you turn up end up being worse than what you bought them for. Don't have a go at the Glazers. I think they've been all right. What's wrong? Like you said, I mean, Neville always bangs on about the stadium, which is like it might be going to come, but you're still selling it out. You know what I mean? And or they're taking monthly dividends out. Who cares? It's your club. They're taking dividends out. What difference does that make? If you were the
try and live through
it, no one cares.
Yeah, try and live through Hicks and Gillette. Try and live through Hicks and Gillette, where you were getting the likes of Konchesky. Yeah. You know what I mean? You're getting the worst of the worst players. You're getting £80 million players. Do you know what I mean? You're getting Sancho at the drop of a hat. You're paying Ronaldo, God knows what, to be on the pitch.
You paid for Harry Maguire, you'd even flinch.
You know what I mean? Exactly. So that leads me on to my next point. The style of play. Obviously, the good managers they tend to come in and address stuff straight away if they have the facilities. I.e., Tuchel, for example, he came in, he had a good squad available, and you saw instant results. I remember the first time I watched them play. It was even I don't even know whether it was the very first game he came in and I watched them play. They had something like 75%. Possession.
Yeah.
And I don't know whether they won. There might have been a draw or something like that. Yeah. But they kept the ball so well and you saw an instant improvement because he drilled that team in the minimal time that he had, and straight away you could see a style of play. Whereas Klopp, it was a bit different. He had basically shittings, but instantly against Tottenham, you've seen the pressing, regardless of whether it was like, a performance to be proud of where, you're passing through the thirds but there was some kind of identity, and slowly but surely he kind of got rid of the people that weren't fitting the system and then brought in other players. So you almost instantly saw improvements. How do you see the United situation? Because they've clearly got, I say clearly, they have got players of a level. Do you see it more of a Tuchel situation or a pure clear out like Klopp situation
they're miles off. The reason they're miles off the squad, they're nowhere near the Tuchel. The Tuchel situation, Chelsea were a good side. It's just that Lampard got a gig that he wasn't fit enough for, good enough for. The squad was more than good enough. I mean, they are where they are. Third is probably where they are because Liverpool and Man City I've said it for years, the best two teams in the world. And
preface that with and answer that with, who would you keep? Because that's
no. I mean, on holiday, I was watching Liverpool, Man City, a Man United fan just sat next to me and started talking, and I said, I think Ronaldo, it was a Norwich game actually when they scored. Ronaldo had obviously scored, and I was like, you've got obviously huge issues and stuff. And he mentioned Pogba, he wants to get rid of him as a bad apple, and I'm like, he's your best player, and I said, he is your best player, and what you're doing as a fan is you want to find a scapegoat. He's a World Cup winner. He performs well. He's been playing for Juve. He's played for top teams. You know what I mean? You do not come to Man United. The issue isn't the player; it's the club. I'm not. He's been put on bench. He's been playing in different positions. I've not heard him come out in the media and say, "Oh, I'm not happy. I don't want to play." So I don't know where this whole thing is, and it comes down to that. I think when you get a black player who throws his hands and shows a bit of, I don't want to say attitude, but a bit more gusto and a bit more outspoken, especially on the pitch when he's asking players what to do. It's sort of like get back in your box. I saw two comparisons that came from two players, both French, Paul Pogba, and he was classed as arrogant, and there was N'Golo Kante, who was classed as humble. Now, N'Golo Kante is that quiet guy. It's like, that's what you're black, you need to be quiet and stick in that little box. whereas Pogba's not allowed to do that. And I think regardless of what anyone says, and if we look through history, there is a huge element of that involved as well when people sort of say Pogba's arrogant. Graham Souness, whether he does it subconsciously or what, and he always nails Pogba, I'm not having it. We watch football long enough, and I spoke to Man United fans as well who were knowledgeable about the game. Pogba is Man United's best player. You can say what you want. He just needs to play in the right team, right formation. I mean, he's going now, and I think it's right for him to move on. I don't think the fans quite like him, and I don't get it. You're talking about which players Liverpool will take. I think if Pogba came to Liverpool, Klopp will get him working to an absolute T. It's exactly the same when Thiago came and was, he's not going to fit in the Klopp way of playing. He's running shit now. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I just think there's a huge, people need to have a look at why they have certain opinions about certain players, and whether that's just being pushed by the media. But yeah, I'm just going to. Sorry, I know you did ask a question about who you'd keep and who I wouldn't.
Yeah.
So I think in world football at the moment, the top teams, the most important position for me is your fullback areas. I think Man United's fullbacks have you've got Wan-Bissaka, you've got Dalot, you've got Luke Shaw and Alex Telles. Genuine question: how many of those, any of those, get anywhere close to? Well, they're not going to get anywhere near close to Liverpool, Man City, or Chelsea, or any of the top teams in Europe. I would have them in sort of mid-table Premier League teams. That's where I see them. I don't see them. So you've got a huge issue there. You look at your centre halves. You've got Harry Maguire, which I think he's a good centre half. I don't think he's a Man United player. That's just the way it is. And you've got Lindelof.
A quick question on that, on Harry Maguire. I'm presuming, again, I don't know about Ten Hag, but the majority of the top managers, Tuchel, Klopp, and Guardiola, they like to play very high line, press the other team back, and make them basically panic into clearing the ball back, and you return possession and recycle again. If Ten Hag has intentions of doing that, do you see Maguire fit in that profile? Because you think of Liverpool and their ability to get back into position. They're very comfortable 2v2 defending. And Matip's not the fastest. However, he's still our second best centre back. So I was just wondering, do you see Harry Maguire as a top centre back?
See, it's an interesting one with Harry Maguire and Matip, and you'd say they're probably about as quick as each other. Whereas Joe Matip playing a high line is so comfortable. Now he's been coached to play that, and you watch Liverpool, they catch teams offside more than anyone else. Now to suddenly go, right, we're going to play a high line and how we're going to do it. You need coaching. You need to understand how you do that. The other part, if you're comparing Maguire and Matip is a really good 1v1 defender. Maguire isn't. If he's 1v1 near the halfway line, he just panics, and he'll end up fouling the guy. Whereas Matip stays on his feet, he reads the players better, he's just a better defender. If you watch the Liverpool first goal, Rangnick said, we got caught because we're in the halfway line when that wasn't the game plan. So it's like, sometimes they'll go and press high, but the defence hasn't been coached how to play high. I mean, I know this is going to sound so stupid, like Premier League footballers, of course they know how to play high. But it's when you play high, your press has got to be right, because you can't play high when there's no pressure on the ball, because the other team's got half a pitch to play the ball into, and it's easy. So we watch Liverpool and Man City, they're pressing and they're high at the same time. So the clearance, there's no control over it. If you're letting them play, and it was just like, Liverpool, for example, it was ping, and you're in. And it was so easy, it was a goal. The Maguire situation, I think I'll find it hard unless he spends time with him and he has that conversation, or he takes his captain's armband off him. I don't know. There's so many questions there. Well, then you've got Lindelof and Bailly. Are they that? Sorry,
before you move on, I want you to do the opposite. Sell me Harry Maguire. Tell me what he's good at. You're a centre back. You can recognise why you would keep him.
Watch him play for England. England play a different way. He's set up to play. If he's playing in a team that plays a low block, he's really good because he can defend his penalty box. He's good driving from sort of penalty box into the halfway line with the ball. He breaks lines, dribbling. He does pass the ball well as well through the lines. I think the issue with him is just out of possession when he's playing high. And I think it's just been magnified more over the last couple of years. It was different. When he won at Leicester, it's completely different. You defend, you play on Jamie Vardy, he's going to counter-attack, you know what I mean? You've got his pace to play. The game's different. You play for one of the bigger teams, you're just going to play higher, and it's just going to the way it is, unfortunately. And you do get isolated 1v1. You've got to be good at defending 1v1. And it's a weakness for him. So
if his strength's a low block, then it's not going to work.
Exactly. Breaking out from there. But again, you can be coached. You know, so it's the teams. Joe Matic came from Schalke when Rangnick used to make. You know, they were one of the top teams in Germany, but he's been coached. Like, let's have a play. We'll play higher. So you don't have to be quick to play high. Your whole team needs to understand why we're playing high and where you've got to press and what areas you do stay high. So it's the whole defensive line's got to be picked up. I mean, you mentioned the goals against Norwich as well. I mean, you can just pick so many of goals that they've conceded. I just think it's such a massive job for Ten Hag and for Man United fans to expect him to do, brilliant success in the first season. It's not there, and I think you've just got to be realistic. Rangnick made a good point. Rangnick made a good point. He said, it took Klopp 2 or 3 transfer windows to get it, but realistically, you're going to look at a lot more because Klopp's just Klopping it. But yeah, you look at the midfield. Pogba's going, Lingard's going. You got your McTominay and Fred and Fernandes. You've had them 3 for the last 3 years. It's the definition of insanity, innit? Doing the same shit over and over again. And
I saw comments saying we're missing Fred. Yeah. And while he has been the only player to improve over the last few months, having watched them, if you're missing Fred, you're in a lot of trouble.
I agree. I mean, I think Rangnick has tried to play him a bit higher, and he's done okay. But I almost think Fred's not a bad player, but because they've been so bad, he's just been lumbered in the same bracket to say you shit, you're not good enough. And then you've got them 3. Well, you've got Lingard and Thingy, you've got Matic going as well. Matic is going as well. So you've pretty much only got those 3. You need new players anyway, regardless. And then we look at the white Rashford. I have got no idea what's happened to him. I think he's fallen off a cliff. I think there are some Man United fans that are saying this was his standard all the time. I don't know. Sancho, again, he's had a poor season, but I think there's something there. Elanga's done okay when he's coming, but you can't really be relying on Elanga to, he's not going to be the future. Cavani's going, Ronaldo, Ten Hag doesn't want him, so I'd imagine Ronaldo's going to go as well. And then what have you got? Martial's out on loan. Is he going to come back? Van der Beek, I can see coming back and getting involved straight away because, like I said, I think he'll be, I think he's obviously playing in Real Madrid and standing. He'll be able to adapt to the way Ten Hag wants to play quicker than any other player. And I just think you've just got, I've named that squad. You've probably got about 10 players that are there, but they're not. I can't imagine those 10 will be starting. That includes you bringing your loans in. You do need at least 8 players that are going to come in, probably start.
Yeah, they're not there through merit. They're there because of contract. They're not there through merit. A lot of the players, you think of maybe David De Gea. You said Bruno Fernandes, but he's quality at the end of the day, regardless of how he's playing at the moment. And then Pogba's off, and then beyond that, I just really can't think of it. But Rashford, that's a Space Jam. I don't know whether you've seen a lot of people say Space Jam where Michael Jordan gets touched by the alien, he can't play it no more. And Elanga feels a lot like when Rashford first came in. Rashford was kind of like a panic. You're in the 11 because everybody's injured.
Yeah,
and then he became good.
I remember the game. Yeah. It was a European game, wasn't it? And he just
and then he became good. Yeah. So then you've got Elanga thrust in it because everybody's playing shit as well. So hopefully for Man United's sake, that he doesn't follow along that same path. It might just be too much too quick for Rashford, and eventually, hopefully, because I like the kid, he'll come good again. But I just wanted to. I don't know whether you're about finished, but I just wanted to touch upon what you said earlier. You made a comparison between Paul Pogba and Kante. I think there's a comparison to be had between Paul Pogba and Harry Maguire, because if you remember rightly, a couple of weeks back, England fans were booing Harry Maguire, and everybody came out and they basically criticised him, his teammates, everybody came back. And as soon as that first game back at Old Trafford, everyone was singing Harry Maguire's name. Yay, Harry Maguire, we're behind you and all that kind of stuff. Now, I don't remember what game it was. I think it was maybe the Norwich game, the one that they won, where Pogba's basically getting targeted by his own fans in the stadium. And they're saying stuff to him, and he's like, look, and he's cupping his ear, like as if to say, look, I don't even care anymore. I'm not even going to be here next season. You want to have a go at these guys. Don't even waste your time on me. But they're booing him and booing him. But not one person came out and said anything about Pogba. And the club didn't come out, the fans didn't come out, his teammates didn't come out and say, look, it's not on. You were on about England fans booing Harry Maguire. Why are you not on about your own Man United fans booing Paul Pogba? Yeah. But I've just been thinking about that last couple of days.
No, I think it's a really relevant point, and I think regardless of how much we want to push away from it and sort of think it'll resolve itself, it doesn't. The issue is still, one's a black footballer, one's a white footballer, okay? So there's different amounts of empathy you get, and unfortunately that's just the way it is, and it's ingrained, and it's easy for people to do it. The Harry Maguire, I think there was it Raheem Sterling? There was another black footballer who got I think it was Joe Gomez who got absolutely hammered, and he didn't get the same protection as Harry Maguire did off it. So I think, the more you dig, the more you look into it, it is an issue, it is a problem, and we seem to just let it slide because it's it's happened and it's gone. Because Paul Pogba's thinking, do you know what? I can't even be asked with these. My own fans are booing me. And he's been one of their better players, but he's an easy target, isn't it? He does not get the same shit Maguire does. Do you know? But by Man United fans, England fans, I think England fans are just generally, you'll find that most of them are fans from lower league clubs, aren't they? So they'll just read whatever they see. But for your own fans, like club fans, to boo you, I think that's a massive issue. I remember Granit Xhaka, same thing happened to him as well. But that's when he walked off, and it was just like, I don't know. I just think it's obviously the huge thing about fans. There's a thing about fans pay the money because they say what they want and do what they want. But I disagree with that. I think if you're going to go and boo your own players at your own club, just stay at home. Don't even bother turning up. Do you know what I mean? There's no need for it.
Yeah, you're right. It is the lowest of the low, and I couldn't imagine it. I hope I never see it at Anfield. But there it is. Yeah. So, that's about it from me. Have you got anything else to say on the Ten Hag situation?
Just the question of the day for you. I just think I'll pass it over to you. I mean, there's obviously a couple we can do. I know you've got a question of the day for us, so I'll swing it over to you.
Yeah. So my question of the day is: are you happy with Ten Hag as being the Man United manager? I'm presuming there's going to be a lot of Man United fans that are going to be watching this. But are you happy with it? And if you're not a Man United fan, where do you think that he'll take them next season? That's basically the top and bottom of it. Yeah. Again, personally, I think he'll do well. I think he can do. I think he could benefit with a season out of Europe, and that's what a lot of people are saying. I think it's the easy answer. But I think, with the size of United and the United squad itself, I think it's something maybe that he needs to experiment. He needs a lot of games to experiment with this team.
I think for me, it needs to be a situation where he doesn't. I think you get a new manager coming on, we'll give everyone a chance. Fuck that. No, we've seen your shit over the last 3-4 years. You're getting binned. It'll be really interesting to see the starting lineup in August when the season kicks off. Because I think it'll be massively different from this, and I think what will decide how good a season they are or how successful they are is the window this summer and the window in January and the following summer. So the next 3 windows, obviously, if Ten Hag says, but it's quite easily that he'll come in and by February time he's sacked because they're not doing very well. Man United fans just don't see the long, bigger picture. Do you know what I mean? It's almost like this. He needs to come in and say, we are so far off. We need to be, with 2-3 years, we're not going to be challenging there. We've got to be realistic with what we're doing. We've got a new team, completely new. We've had lots of players that have been here for a sustained period of time that we've now shifted on. Now we've got a new bunch of players in a new group. This is how we want to play. This is how we've got young, hungry players. So give us time, get behind us, and give us a couple of years. And if they still aren't successful by then all means, do you know what I mean? But let me implement the way I want to play. And we'll see how that looks like in a couple of years.
Yeah, it's just got to be gradual improvement, points, etc. But yeah, it's definitely going to be intriguing as Liverpool fans, and I'm sure a lot of fans will be interested in it. So yeah, so as always, we say that if you have been watching all the way through this, it was probably only meant to be a short one, but if you got all the way to the end, give us a like, you might as well, and drop us a comment down below. Ty always likes to reply and chat with you guys. So yeah, it's been a good podcast. Anything else you want to say before we leave, pal?
No, just that. We'll be from next week. We're bang in the middle of one of the greatest title races again. 2 brilliant teams. We'll be covering that sort of next week and as the season progresses as well. But yeah, apart from that, guys, thanks for tuning in and listening to us. We'll see you in the next one. Bye.
See you later, guys.